Hold on a second. I'm typing out my links so people will maybe watch this. I want to see if I can get 5 people to watch this. And then we're going to talk about Game of Thrones spoiler stuff. Hold on a second. I'm typing on Twitter right now. ASMR Game of Thrones prediction. Link. Looks good to me. Looks good to me. Looks good to me. Tweet. Okay, now close that out. And then I'll go to this. And hold on. I'm gonna close this thing. Hold on just a second. We're getting set up. Maybe. We'll get this thing. While we're waiting for people to get here, I'll do this like puzzle thing. I'm gonna try to remember to look in the camera more, because I forget to do that. Tonight, we're gonna be going through what we think will happen in the upcoming season of Game of Thrones on HBO. Hopefully, if you're here, you are caught up, because we're going to spoil things that have happened on Game of Thrones, and some of it won't make any sense if you're not caught up. And I don't want to ruin the show for people who might want to get to it later. We'll wait a couple minutes before we dive in, and we'll think about who we think is going to die, or who's going to live, or who's going to make it, who's going to be on the throne, and who's going to become the hand of the throne, the hand of the king or queen. Let's waste a little bit of time. How's everybody doing? It's Tim. Tim's here. Thank you. I'm wearing my Star Wars shirt because today was a big day for Star Wars. I think Tim might know. Tim, I think he's the only person watching this right now, but Tim went to Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, and he probably has a lot more to say than I do about this. I wish he could. Tim, if you have anything to share about Star Wars, please, please tell us some type of story. You were there for the episode 9 panel this morning, and some of us watched it on the internet. I watched it on the internet. Yeah. I'll do this thing by the microphone so it sounds like, what? Like, oh, what kind of story? Who did you see today? Like, what celebrities did you see at Star Wars Celebration? I think I've already heard some of them, but I'm curious. You can type them here if you would like to, in case anyone maybe did not know. I'm wasting time right now for until people get here, and oh, okay. One of the guys that's here, Tim, was at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago today, and he was there for the episode 9 panel, which was really cool to watch on the internet. Like, that's how I watched it, and he was actually in the room. He says it was pretty much the same thing as how it streamed. Okay, so Tim, I think you're the main person who I'll be interacting with. Have you noticed that I have the microphones on like different one's on one side and one's on the other side? Have you noticed it? Is it panned? I'm sorry. Is it panned enough? I'm gonna try to whisper tonight. Oh gosh, you saw all these people. Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Kelly Marie Tran, Anthony Daniels, Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams. That's exciting. I think you had a very cool day. I wish you were doing an ASMR stream talking about your day at Star Wars Celebration. Tim, can you move from mic to mic while talking, like say something but then like kind of keep moving around like this kind of thing? Yeah, I know that's fun to watch. Is this cool? I feel really cool right now. Oh, you saw Warwick Davis too? How long were you at the celebration? Was it an all-day thing? And well, I know it's an all-weekend thing, but for you, I think you said you just went today, maybe? Which was probably a good day to go, from what I could tell. I'm sorry, you probably don't feel like typing too much, and I'm asking too many questions to you. I'll pretend like there are other people here, because maybe there will be other people here with such a grabby title as the one I've typed out here. Okay. I'm gonna set this thing aside because this is gonna take too long and we need to get to business. Tim, look, I got some forks to like touch the microphone. This is kind of an ASMR type thing, right? You got lucky with the panels and people. Yeah, I think I would rather see the episode 9 panel than probably any of the other things. I think that's actually really cool. I think this kind of sounds cool, but I'm worried about scratching the foam windscreen thing too much with these forks. I'm worried that I'm gonna actually accidentally dig a hole into the screens and ruin them and not be able to use them for their intended purpose. There's not a windscreen on this, so when I say my P's and T, my plosives, it doesn't sound right, but maybe you like the way that sounds. I don't know. I don't know what works for ASMR totally yet. I'm still figuring this stuff out. It would be funny if what? Oof, the fork in the left. This mic. Yeah, okay. I'm not gonna do that too much. Is everyone caught up on Game of Thrones before we discuss this? I know pretty much everyone who watches the show is caught up and knows basically what's going on. I am caught up, but I've been rewatching the 7th season this week. I've been going through and trying to remember what all was going on. Today I watched the 5th episode, and I'm probably going to watch the 6th and 7th before Sunday night when the new episode comes out. I've written down a list of predictions in this notebook here. Some of these are serious. Well, they're serious predictions, but I'm not necessarily rooting for these to happen. I'm just I just wrote them down so I'd have something to talk about. One popular prediction has to do with Cersei. Do you think Cersei is gonna live or die? I think a lot of people feel this way. I think that Cersei is going to die. Hey, how you doing? Who is this? Who are you? You don't have to answer this if you would like to remain anonymous. tonight we are talking about, you believe that Cersei will die. I also believe Cersei will die. Tonight we're talking about Game of Thrones spoilers. The first, your name is Jeff also, or are you making like a clever joke because that was in that movie 21 Jump Street when they said that? It's okay. Either way, if your name is really Jeff, or if just so you know, I'm not a professional ASMR person. I am just doing this, I don't know, for fun, to see what happens. I am going to try to not be too loud tonight. I will be whispering as I go over my personal predictions for Game of Thrones, and hopefully the chat will participate and offer their predictions for Game of Thrones as well. The show on HBO that's coming back on Sunday night that everybody knows is coming back, because a lot of people watch the show. The mics aren't panned really well. I can fix that, I think. Give me 1 second. Okay. Alright. Okay, is that a little bit better? I kind of turned the pan up a little bit more. Tim is like the main person. I know there are more people watching this, but he's probably the person I'm going to be interacting with. So far, that seems to be the case. But if anyone else wants to participate, you can. We're doing this just because it's fun. I'm going to turn this one up a little bit. Not too much. Okay. Okay. We think that Cersei is going to die in Game of Thrones. I'm trying to think of how early in the season I think she's gonna die. Like, I feel like it would be an end of the season thing, because the main like conflict like globally on the show this year is the the ice zombies, the winter that's coming from the north, and then there's Cersei at King's Landing trying to take over the land and everything. So I think it's obviously gonna be a mix of those two things. I've wondered at times like if it's gonna be is it gonna both be happening the whole season, or is it gonna be like the first half of the season is the ice zombie people, and then the second half is like the King's Landing fight? Or is it gonna be all mixed together? What do you guys think? Do you think the fight will happen kind of throughout the season, or do you think it'll be broken up where one happens and then the next one happens? I think that the human fight will happen second, or maybe not. I think they'll be kind of mixed together, but I think that's the more compelling of the conflicts. So I think that that will happen last, and I think Cersei will die maybe in the either last episode or the next to last episode. And you think Cersei you think early on, you think she does not have any place in the war against the Ice Walkers. That's interesting. Okay, here's the next question related to Cersei dying. How does she die? I know one of the most popular theories on the internet and amongst fans is that someone special to Cersei will be the one to kill her. Do you think... I'm sorry, I can't believe I've been talking this way for this long. It's really doesn't feel normal. I'm gonna keep trying though. But do you think that Jaime will... Yeah, that's what I was wondering what you thought. I think that's like the most common... This is almost like the most common theory. Most people predict that Jaime's gonna kill her. Do you believe that? Do you think that he's gonna strangle her? Isn't that part of like the prophecy or whatever it was? I can't remember exactly. Connected to that question, do we think that Jaime is going to survive the show? I think he's going to kill Cersei and the prophecy that was given to her by the witch. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that prophecy happened at the beginning of season 5, I think. It was like the first scene of one of the seasons. I think it was the 5th one. 4th or 5th. I think that Jaime is going to die. I don't know how exactly. I mean, no one knows really what's going to happen. I did think that it would be interesting. I don't know, but probably not. I think a lot of them will die. Yeah, probably a lot of the characters. There's some characters that seem like they'll obviously die, and then there's some characters that seem like they'd probably not kill them off. We'll get to those in a minute. If you're familiar with Game of Thrones, you know in the first episode it ended with Bran. Well, Jaime pushed. Speaking of Jaime pushed Bran when he was a younger boy off the side of the castle when he saw some stuff that he probably didn't need to see. He caught Jaime and Cersei in a compromising situation. I've been wondering if Bran and Jaime would end up in the same place at some point. I think that could be really interesting because, as we know, Bran is in a very different place than he was back then, of course, obviously. I'm wondering if they were in the same place, if it would even mean anything to Bran. It's almost like Bran could, as a viewer, you want Bran to have some kind of vengeance or revenge on Jaime, but it almost doesn't make total sense with Bran as the way he is. Like if he was hurt, like if he killed Jaime somehow. You feel like Sansa, Daenerys, and maybe the Hound will survive. Do you think? Okay, one of my predictions, I think, is this is not an original prediction either, that Dany will be the one on the Iron Throne, if there's still an Iron Throne at the end of this, because it's almost like it doesn't matter anymore, and she's there to like break the wheel and all this. So it seems like maybe she wouldn't survive, or I'm sorry. It seems like the throne would almost like not be necessary anymore. Yeah, I don't think Bran cares really. I just thought I do think it'd be interesting if those two characters ended up in the same location and they just kind of had to deal with each other. More that Jaime would have to deal with Bran. I think Bran could really like mess Jaime up. Maybe, yeah, you don't think there will be, it's kind of like, it's almost like the whole point of the show is that the politics are really not like important compared to everything else. Like it's like everybody's like wrapped up in the drama of who's gonna rule, when it's like who cares kind of thing. There are more pressing matters, and that's usually what causes everybody to be so brutal with each other. Yeah, but I do think it would be interesting if Jaime and Bran kind of somehow interacted. Yeah, okay. Now we'll move on to this other character that is pretty popular, Jon Snow. I know that like a lot of these predictions seem to, I know they're kind of like, is this person going to die? Is this person going to be on the Iron Throne or whatever? I know that more is going to happen than characters just dying, though that's probably going to happen a lot. I feel like there's like a handful of characters who are like the main characters, like Jon, Dany, Tyrion, Arya, Cersei. Am I missing any more? I'm not gonna say they're like bulletproof or like they're not gonna die, but it would be more like shocking if one of them died. And I think like one of them will die, or two. Like I think most of them will live. And I think out of all those, I could kind of see Jon dying the most, I think. Mainly because it feels like Jon's main purpose, and he would probably say this, was to defeat the Night King and the White Walkers. And he doesn't care about ruling or any of that stuff. Also, at this point in the story, he's fallen in love with this woman who, it turns out, he doesn't quite know it yet, but he's going to find out pretty soon that that's his aunt. And it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to that news. I'm wondering if that news is going to like make them want to, call off their relationship, or if it won't be an issue for them. That'll be interesting to see, because Westeros is plays by different rules than we do here sometimes. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how that shapes the story. But I feel like right now Jon's main purpose is to defeat the Night King. I know he's like he's a big important main character. Yeah, but Jon is a leader who doesn't want to lead. He's died once already, and he seems like he wants to die again every time. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like, if he wants to die, it would almost be like his happy ending if he died. It feels, I was thinking like, if he and Dany survive the end, and they're like a couple at the end of it, it's like, even though they're kind of like two of your favorite characters, you don't really like want them to be a couple at the end. Like that's not like a happy ending. Though maybe not that maybe Game of Thrones would do that just to like throw you off and like mess up your expectations of what a happy ending is. Like in their view, like they find love, but it's with their aunt and nephew. There's a conflict there. It'll be interesting to see how that is resolved. Okay, another thing I was thinking of is the two main combatants for the power for the throne. The two that are battling it out the most is Dany and Cersei, and as far as I know, they've never even really had a scene together. And I was like, they were in that one scene at the end of season 7. It's in the episode, I think it's in the last episode of season 7, when everybody's in the same place. I guess they do have that one scene together. But I feel like there should be more like Dany versus Cersei kind of. I'm not saying like they should like be physically fighting, but they need to like be in the same place and like, do you know what I mean? Like I know they're both like kind of leaders and they have their armies and they get their armies to fight each other, but I just feel like that's something that could happen that would be exciting. I think their relationship was forced for the viewers. Danny and John, I think, that's who you're talking about. Yeah, like, I guess we don't know yet what the books. I have not read the books. I've read like maybe 200 pages of the first book, so I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to the book. It's kind of funny because if they weren't related, it would make sense for them to be together. But that whole part, like, is just like I don't know what the overall point of it is, really, other than that he's a Targaryen and all this. And speaking of like the Targaryen thing, do you guys think the other character is the Targaryen? I'm not sure how Cersei would meet. That is a good question. I'm not sure how that would happen. Dany would almost have to go to Cersei. I think. Yeah, do you guys... There's 3 dragons. One has been turned into an ice dragon zombie thing. Do you guys think there's a third Targaryen? Y'all know, you know where I'm going with this. Do you think Tyrion is gonna end up being like the son of the Mad King kind of thing, and be able to ride the dragon? I know that's kind of a big theory. I don't know if that. I think I'm at the point with the show where I've read all the theories and I can't even tell what I'm expecting anymore. I don't know anymore. I guess that would be cool. I think Tyrion is probably my favorite character, but I don't know what I want to happen with him, really. I think I just like Peter Dinklage. He's just funny. He's more interesting. I don't know if he'll ride on a dragon or what. Or if he'll just be the hand of the king. I don't know, it would make sense, but if him being a Targaryen, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it would happen. If it happened, it would be kind of like okay, were we leaning to this happening? Like, was this something we were supposed to be excited about? I don't know if there's much groundwork has been built for that. Other than, I mean, I know like when he killed his father, he said like, "You're no son of mine," and that's like a whole part of that theory. I know there's more to this stuff than I'm getting into because I'm not like a scholar with this show. I'm just kind of a normal fan, but yeah. I talked a little bit about the people who I think will live or will probably live, and now I was wondering about the people who I think will die. And I think a lot of the like more minor characters probably fall into that. The two I think most people would probably agree because the characters kind of basically said that they were going to die in Westeros was Melisandre and Varys. I know they had that conversation outside of Dragonstone, and she was going to go, I can't remember where she was going, but she said she had to come back because she was going to die in Westeros, and that he was going to probably die in Westeros. I don't know. You were saying you think that, Tim, you were saying that you think the Hound will survive the whole thing. And I can see that happening. I know, okay, one of my cousins is like really into Game of Thrones, but she's really into the books, and she's kind of critical of the show. I think she likes parts of the show, but because the longer it's gone on, the more it's kind of gotten out of like away from some of the main stories in the books. And Britt, I hope this is, I don't know if you watch this Game of Thrones. This might be, ridiculous. It's supposed to be ridiculous. But, I am glad that you showed up. Thank you. We're talking about Game of Thrones, and we are talking about spoilers. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin the show for you. If maybe you watch it, I don't know. I just don't want to, like, if anyone's watching this and they are worried about, like, the show being spoiled, well, I'll put it in the title that they're spoilers, so it's your fan. Okay. If you're not a fan of Game of Thrones, that's fine. And if you don't want to watch it, then maybe this will be interesting and kind of like a what the heck are these people talking about kind of way. Because we're digging into our what we think might happen or might not happen. Right now we're wondering about the characters who we think will die. There's so many characters in this show. It's like there's so many characters that, like, you just don't, and there's so many characters, and also it's likely that a good bit of them will probably die. I mentioned Melisandre and Varys, if I'm even saying their names right. I think I am, but like Grey Worm, is he still alive? Now I'm wondering. I can't remember. All those guys that went to like north of the Wall. I can't remember all who, like, Davos. Davos is like one of the cool characters as far as, like, he seems like a good person. Some of the people seem like they're sort of good, but they're, I don't know, they're like a mix, but he seems like a actually good-hearted type person. Davos, Gendry, and then there's also like Sam and Gilly. Is it Gilly or Gilly? Gilly, I think. They seem like they should survive. They're like the main. They're like some of the better people. Davos and Grey Worm are alive. Okay, I'm rewatching the last season right now, and I have 2 episodes left, and I haven't watched it since it came out like a couple years ago, so I'm not totally remembering which of all the, like, minor characters are alive. I remember one of the guys died in the 6th episode when they all went north of the Wall. I think it was the guy that, it was one of the guys that keeps coming back to life. I think he died he'd come back to life like 7 times or something, and he finally died. The better people are who often die. Oh, that's true. Yeah, nobility is not always rewarded on this show. It is really a brutal show. So many, like, just rewatching the last season, like, I was reminded, like, so many of the scenes, like, they'll start off with, like, a character will, like, walk into a situation, and it's like everyone's, like, really hard and, like, kind of, like, judging them and, like, you're not worth anything, and then, like, the person will say something, like, smart, and they'll, like, kind of win them over, and then by the end of it, like, the really hard character will be like, well, they'll, like, soften, and they'll be like, okay, you can do whatever you said you were gonna do, and then you're kind of like, oh, mean people are being nice sometimes. Thoros of Myr, okay. Is he, okay, is he, I think there are 2 of those guys that keep coming back to life. Is Beric the one with the sword, like the flaming sword? And Thoros is the other one? I don't know. And while we're talking about who we think was going to die, there was another main character who I'm curious about if they're going to survive. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about, mostly. I mean, I know at least. Okay. I didn't touch on Arya very much, and I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens with Arya, because, well, obviously she's one of the main characters and who we followed this whole time, and she's become this, like, warrior person, and I'm curious what they're gonna do with her like ability to become other people. What? I don't know what's happening. Are you like a nice person, or are you all okay? You're not okay. Not. Oh. Are you gonna participate in our conversation, or are you gonna just kind of say kind of all this crap? Okay. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna do something with you. Sorry, but I don't understand what you're talking about. You'll come back in 600 seconds, however long that is. Yeah. Do you guys think Arya is gonna, like... Hold on a second. I didn't ban him or her. I haven't decided how, like... I don't know. Sometimes people just act goofy on this stuff, and sometimes they're just like being trolls. I don't get that many viewers, so I'm wondering, like, maybe this troll is like a nice person. Or maybe he's not a troll, maybe he's just having a weird night. So Arya, is, someone who I think could possibly die, but I don't know. She's like one of the ones out of the good group that I think could die, just because she's a fighter, and it would be really sad. Like I think they're gonna have to kill like some of the like characters you think aren't gonna die, like Arya or Jon. They're gonna have to kill some of those characters just because, to make it seem like they can kill any character. You know what I mean? Okay, and then this other question I have is, so like there's these dragons on this show. Do we think that the dragons are gonna survive like the whole series? Right now there's, of course, I don't know their names. The two good dragons that with Dany, and then the ice zombie dragon. I'm curious if they'll all survive the show, or if they'll die. I think I can see at least one of the good dragons dying. Probably the bad one will die. But another theory is that Bran will warg into one of the dragons. It would be interesting if he could warg into the ice zombie dragon and like take over, and you don't think they'll survive? You don't think there's a place for dragons in the new world? Yeah. It could, yeah. And that it would make sense to me if they died. I'm not like connected to the dragons like in an emotional way or whatever, but I know they serve an interesting purpose on the show, because like every time they show up, they're almost like this symbol of like just that the power does not matter, and that like they're kind of so overpowered, they throw everything off. They just but there's also like a sense of like awe, you know, like all the characters just usually kind of stop in their tracks and like look up at the dragons and they're like, whoa, okay. Yeah, we're gonna do away with monarchies, but keep killer dragon. I think the dragons could die and the Iron Throne. I don't know. I don't know. I'm curious like how Bran is gonna play into the in game of this show. Like what his like I know that he's gonna tell Jon about his parentage, and I think I'm trying to remember the scene in the season 7 finale. Was it Sam and Bran were talking, and that's how they kind of put 2 and 2 together about that. I think that's how it happened. I'm about to rewatch that one probably tomorrow or something. Do you guys this might be like kind of a corny theory? Do you guys think that Sam will write a song of Ice and Fire? It'll be kind of like a Frodo writing Lord of the Rings kind of thing. I know some people have wondered about that. You think Bran is just an exposition dump? Like, okay, let's say Bran like survives this season, and then like, what does he do after the season? Does he just go up to like the cave or whatever and like just sit there for like 2,000 years or something? He has a lot of power. Like, he can do a lot of stuff, but it's almost like he's not a character anymore in some ways. I guess okay. I feel like it almost just makes total sense if Cersei just is the Queen of the North, in charge of the North. Like, it just kind of seems like that's what should happen. I'm wondering, like, it's almost like if they do something else with her, it would be just to play against that expectation. And also, I'm wondering what her story could be past just ruling the North. Like, it feels like I'm not sure like what her role is past that. If there's still like a North to be ruled. I think I've covered most of my predictions that at least the ones I've written down. I'm trying to think of other things as he becomes the tree. Tim, do you think that the Hound will like fight his brother, like the Clegane Bowl or whatever it's called? Do you think that'll happen? That's one of those things where like I feel like there's certain sections of the audience who really want them to fight, and it's like a big whole thing, and I'm like, I don't really care about them fighting that one. Like, whenever they inevitably do fight, I'm just gonna be like, oh, okay, they're fighting now. This is that thing that everybody thought was gonna happen. Yeah, Clegane Bowl. Okay, you seem more excited about. I'm not saying that I don't think it'll be fun or whatever, but I don't feel like I'm one way or the other. And the Hound will have to win. That would be ridiculous if they fought, and then like his zombie brother like lived. Oh, and that will be when Cersei dies. That's interesting because he won't be able to defend. Yeah. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how all of it unravels. I think there's things you have like expectations and stuff, and there's some things that just seem like everybody thinks Jaime's gonna kill Cersei, but it's like, okay, but how, like, how's that gonna play out? Like how when will that happen? Like what will be the situation? Like at the end of season 7, John left King's Landing. I can't remember exactly what like the deal was between him and Cersei at that point. I think they I know they were like, not happy with each other. Was he? I can't remember if he was leaving to go join up with the North to fight the zombies. That seems like a stretch. I can't remember exactly what. It'll be either Jaime or Sansa or Arya. Yeah, I think if it's not Jaime that kills Cersei, it'll be Arya, like dressed up as like somebody, maybe Jaime. Like it'll be some kind of twist. They're gonna have to use Arya's like face changing thing at some point for some big murder. And I'm trying to think of what other murders would be very dramatic in that situation. And yeah, and it would make sense if it was Arya too, because she's been on her list for like forever. Yeah. Oh, this person's back. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and ban you because I don't want to deal with this kind of stuff. There are other places you can go to. Bye. I like that I have like 2 or 3 viewers and I just banned one of them. That makes sense. Sounds about right. I'm just trying to think through like other expectations. Game of Thrones is a show that I do like it a lot. When I'm watching it, I really like it, and then as soon as it's over, it's like I just forget about it. I guess a lot of shows are like that, but I'm not like holding on tight to any specific expectations. I feel like at this point with that show, like you're so used to people dying that you care about that you kind of just don't you try not to like care too much about any of the characters, Tim, who is like your favorite character? Who are your top 3 favorite characters on Game of Thrones? I'm trying to think of who mine are. I already said Tyrion is probably my favorite. I don't think Jaime is one of my favorite characters, but I think he's one of the more interesting characters. I think his whole arc has been pretty crazy. Like, it's crazy to me that Jaime, the way he was introduced in the first episode, like, he's not introduced in a way where you would sympathize with him or expect to sympathize with him. But then over the course of the series, you get to where you're rooting for him. Even you're like, it's kind of I just think he's one of the more interesting characters in that way. Definitely a complicated character, but and complex, and not like a good character. But he has some noble qualities. He's someone you kind of want to root for more than you do. Like you wish he would stay away from his sister. Like you feel like you would like him more. It would be like, okay, if Cersei is dead and Jaime like is one of the characters that survives, like what happens to Jaime if Cersei isn't there? Like who is Jaime without Cersei? That's crazy. They have a lot of like Jon Snow and Daenerys are like kind of like probably two of the main characters, obviously. and they're almost like so serious that they're hard to, like, you just root for them because they're the good people and they're the in charge people, but they're not the most interesting characters, really. I really like this last season that I've been rewatching. Like I've said this like 10 times now, but I've been rewatching last season, season 7, and I've enjoyed Arya's arc. It's neat to see Arya, who's been kind of running away from herself like for this whole series for so much of the time, and she's trying to like lose who she is and become this like killer and all this. And then when she coming back to Winterfell and like reconnecting with Sansa and everything, it's been really satisfying. Like that scene where I really like that scene where she's in Winterfell and she asks Brienne if she can train with her, and they kind of spar there for a little while, and like you can tell Brienne is like impressed, and Sansa and Littlefinger are like watching and they're like impressed. And then at the end of it, Brienne is just like, "Who taught you how to fight this way?" And Arya's like, "No one." And you're like, "Yeah, that's awesome, yay!" And then to see the sisters who kind of have this like rough history to kind of them like reconnecting and teaming up to take care of Littlefinger, to throw out another spoiler. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else to say about this. I feel like I've covered most of this stuff that I was going to. But yeah. I am excited. I like again, like rewatching it has kind of reminded me of like there's a lot. I know that the show is known for being like really like R-rated, and probably more than R-rated, but violent, and has a lot of like sexual content, and that turns a lot of people off. And I always think like I understand like that side, and I do think that I don't know, it's just a part of the show at this point, but there's a whole lot to the show that is really like good and really well done that I get really into. I think they do a good job with like as far as like similar to like the Jaime stories, like they create characters who are like have good shadings. Like even the good characters have like stuff you don't really like about them, and the bad characters you can kind of at least relate to them and see what's going on. Like there's the one of the scenes, or one of the episodes I just rewatched, like the 4th one, that ends with that part when Dany like rides the dragon to oh, that's interesting. Wait, hold on, let me read all what you said. That is one thing about Arya that you kind of, that's a lot of the good characters, you're always wondering like, have they gone too far? Like, are they have they lost all their redeeming qualities and all this? And Arya is in that group. Tyrion, do you think Tyrion will betray Dany and Jon for his family? That would be really interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. I was gonna finish that thought. Like, Dany comes in on the dragon, and she's like, I realized, like, cause it's like, there's all these different characters there, and they're fighting against each other, but you're kind of rooting for different ones. Like, Jaime's there with Bronn, and then Dany's there with her dragon, and then Tyrion's like up on the mountain, like watching the whole thing, and then the Dickon character, I think he's still there, who's got a funny name, but you kind of like, he's kind of like, you admire him because he's like so devoted to the cause and his cause. So these characters are like, they're all like on different sides and they're against each other. Okay. Do we know this person? See, I thought you were going to be like, that's my best friend, Jeff. Okay. Yeah, I thought this title would probably collect a bunch of strange attention. Anyway, I was just kind of marveling at the show in that scene just because of the characters being on the different characters are, I'm sorry, I'll try to not like mumble my way through this. They're all on opposing sides with each other, but you've been following like each one for so long that it's like you're rooting, like when Jamie's on screen, you're rooting for him and you want him to survive, but then Danny's like coming at him with a dragon and you're wanting her to like be able to defeat her enemies, and it's just like you're in this like conflict of just like, oh my gosh, like they're all like against each other. It's pretty, I think that's one of the like best things about the show, honestly, the way like it, I think it's really good at showing like characters with complex like you know, they're complex characters, and they the way they all interact and kind of bounce off each other. And there's always this thing with, there's so many characters, and there's so many characters that have like never met each other before. So then like whenever they've two characters who've been on the opposite side of like the world from each other, suddenly like they're together and you're like, oh my gosh, like what's gonna happen here? And then like maybe something cool happens or whatever. I guess that's part of the big fun of the show. Am I forgetting anything, Tim? I'm trying to decide if I should just keep rambling or just go ahead and wrap this up, because I don't feel like I have a lot more to say right now. Yeah. And I think that quality, that just makes it an interesting show to watch. I had one of my good friends, like, I was talking to him on the phone recently, and he said that he had just watched the first episode of Game of Thrones, and that it was just too much for him, and he was like, doesn't understand why anyone would watch it. And I don't know, I wanted to explain to him kind of what the appeal is, but I think it's something that's obvious if you watch the show and follow it. Part of me, I get when people like see it as just like this disgusting kind of vulgar, like perverted type show. I understand seeing that and seeing it in that way, but like I feel like there's a lot of like genuinely like really well done stuff in the show that makes it fun to watch. And I wish there was another person here that could just kind of take the microphone and keep saying stuff about Game of Thrones, because I don't know if I have much else to say. Tim, I'm trying to think if I have any more questions. If anyone's just joining this and somehow they don't know what's going on, this guy in the chat, Tim, Real Team, he was at Star Wars Celebration today, and he got to watch the episode 9 teaser trailer and the panel and the teaser trailer. He got to see it all like live, like instead of on like YouTube like the rest of us full people. It would be cool if he was here, or we could listen to him and he could just tell us like all about that whole thing. You think we're good? Are you satisfied? I feel satisfied, and I think you're the main person I'm doing this for, so I think if you're good and I'm good, then we'll probably call it. Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna stop this. I think we're good. So maybe we'll do another, I don't know, I was thinking maybe we could do another one of these like as the season goes on and check in, but maybe a lot of these things will have come true or not come true. Who cares? Thanks for watching. I'll talk to y'all soon. I'm gonna end it, so okay, have a good weekend, everybody, and enjoy Game of Thrones, because I will too. Maybe I'll talk about it with you later somewhere else. Okay, bye.